If you think about times in the past, even in the ancient past, when groups of humans were going through a lot of change and even upheaval, it was common to reach out not only to the ancestors, but to groups of beings who were also considered to be ancestors, but who might not be the kinds of ancestors that you would normally think of. So I'm going to light a candle and just talk for a few minutes about that, and how I work with that, and how my sister works with that, and to offer some things to you in case this is interesting to you. So yes, when you're going through a tough time, you can always go to your ancestor altar or ask your ancestors for help. In some traditions, you call on the well ancestors. These are the ones who are not burdened with unhelpful energies. And you ask for them to be with you. So that's the simplest thing to do. And a lot of traditions about leaving offerings for the ancestors, like food or remembering them in various ways or dedicating certain things to them, these are ways of keeping those channels open. Because there's an idea that the ancestors return as descendants, and you're one of them. So you're going to be an ancestor, and I'm going to be an ancestor one day, and the ancestors right now are going to return as the descendants. So we're helping each other out. But there's other ideas about kin and ancestry that are also powerful to work with. The easiest, and probably I think one of the more universal ways, is to look at the elements as the ancestors. And I mean fire, water, wind, and earth. Now in some cultures, there's like 5 elements or 3 elements or 9 elements, so I don't want to get into all of that. But just the basic experience of turning to these beings for help when you're going through a tough time, or when beings around you are going through a tough time. For myself, I've really enjoyed this summer going out and putting my hands in rainwater when the rain is coming down. It's something that just feels really good and helps me feel like blessed. I try to go out in the first couple of minutes of a storm because all the energies are there, and that was something I was taught to do, and I think it's healthy and helps me to feel better. And of course, fire is powerful, wind is powerful, earth is powerful. A lot of people do grounding or earthing. So I'm sure you've had some contact with these spirits. And you might know which ones are the most powerful for you. But for some people, it's kind of difficult to jump from human ancestors that might be on your ancestor altar to fire, water, wind, and earth. Like that's a big leap. So I'm going to talk about sort of different ways of connecting the dots. So one way is something that my sister offers, Now Moment Journey, which is a quiz to see whether you're a stone person, a plant person, or an animal person. And then she divides this into, like, are you a person who takes care of these beings? Are you a person who kind of communicates with them? Are you a person who kind of channels them? Kind of helps me to know where I am in relationship to these beings. And if you think of them as sort of like tribes, it's a way of understanding how my human ancestors are also bonded with these other ancestors, plant ancestors, animal ancestors, and stone ancestors, and how they've passed down gifts to me, either to caretake, communicate with, or to channel, that I'm using today. So it's a free quiz and it's easy to do, and it can kind of give you an idea of where you are so that you can easily connect with those ancestors in a way that's easy for you while working on opening the channels up to communicate in more difficult ways. For example, some people are animal caretakers. They have like a gazillion animals around them. Some people can communicate with animals. Other people, like spirit animals, come through them and channel them powerfully, and they can dance their animals or things like that. Some can do all of the above. So these are powerful things that it helps to kind of know which ways your human ancestors transmitted gifts that allow you to work with these sort of the animal people, sort of, who are also ancestors. Another way is kind of, this is the way I kind of work with people, is to, if you have a guardian animal spirit, to work with that as a being that is connected or was passed down to you from your ancestors in some way. Some people even see the guardian animal spirit as a part of your soul. In other words, one of your soul parts, which will stay with you in this lifetime and then go back to be recycled and then passed down to another person after we're not on this earth anymore. So just empowering your relationship with your guardian animal spirit is deeply powerful. And besides the usual core shamanism practice of dancing your animal, another way to get sort of empowered with your animal spirit is to learn from it in the wild, or if you don't live nearby, learn, sort of watch it on video or YouTube or things like that, and just learn from its behaviors, or learn from the dreams that you have about it, or the journeys that you have, and bring that into your everyday life. These are messages from your ancestors that are being passed down or to me or to you through a different channel than the channels that we might normally think of as ancestors. And the other way, besides working with human ancestors, which I do very a lot of, is to work with ancestors that have fused with nature spirits in the land. And these are called land spirits. And they're powerful spirit beings that usually have powerful energy for any of us, including sacred sites, which I consider to be like major land spirits. These are worked with in many, many traditions. And developing a relationship with these places, whether it's a power spot near your home or a really powerful sacred space, sacred place that you may go to a couple times a year to do ceremony or just ask questions or do offerings. These are places where the ancestors are connecting with us, and that our ancestors are working with those other ancestors in ways that we might not think that we're doing. So even though these places may not be, let's say you're a settler like I am, and you're living on land that isn't where your ancestors have always lived for thousands of years, by going to these places, you're still connecting with very deep and ancient and well and wise ancestors, and they can teach a lot. And those teachings are not that different from the teachings that our blood ancestors would give us. And the final way that I think is helpful to work, and this is with your human ancestors, in ways that just going to an ancestor altar can't do for you, is to do activities or embody folklore that's passed down by the cultures that your ancestors were part of, your human ancestors. This allows me to tap in, and I've seen this with other people, to a rich source of ancestral energy that isn't completely bound up by whatever family ancestral issues any of us might be dealing with at any period of time. And like the ancestral traumas that groups of us may have, the ancestral folklore contains a lot of healing power that's also available to us and can help to bring the healing energy to the traumas that we need to have. So any of these patterns, whether you work with my sister and her free quiz and tap into the animal, plant, or stone ancestors, or whether you work with a guardian animal spirit, your blood ancestors, or land spirits, any of these are pathways that help take a person into the deeper ideas of ancestral energy that move past just my family or your family, and into the kind of empowered and well ancestors and ancestral energies that we need at this time to begin to feel connected and like we are really all together, all part of this world tree together. So I hope this is helpful, and I'll be putting links into this post, and many blessings.